Hey, this is mattwandcow here with your second installment of Matt's video blog. Today is the Ides of October, October 15th. This month has gone by really fast, this year's gone by really fast, and I totally just realized that I only have 16 days until I have to start churning out 2,000 words a day for NaNoWriMo. That's a lot of words in not a lot of time, and I need to figure out exactly what stories I want going in my head while my hair gets all frazzled because of work and stuff. For numbers today, 4 channel subscribers still. It's only been 1 day, so I can't really expect you guys to go out and tell all of your friends all right now and have them tell their friends and then tell their friends and then get 4 million subscribers. I'm not expecting that right away. But, if you find what I'm saying interesting, feel free to tell your friends and have them come and look. And along with, no real change from last video, still 1,500 channel views. Numbers out of the way. Next, wall, poster, bird, thing. There, a little bit more chin. It's a person. You'll see who, I think. Not entirely sure who it will be myself, but I think I have a pretty good idea. Anyway, today's main topic comes from a question that one of my friends posted on a previous video, and this is about the difference between role-playing and role-playing. Now, it sounds a lot the same, and it's kind of cool, because it's one of those, homonym thingies, but this is a pretty big, important thing. My brother's walking into the house right now. We'll see if he makes a lot of noise. He better not. I'm recording now. Anyway, you can make some noise. We'll just ignore you. Anyway, role-playing. Let's define some terms. Roll. This means as in rolling the dice. To role-play, and just dropping the paper, to role-play is to play a game, such as Dungeons & Dragons, or another game, with the sole purpose of winning. Having a lot of stats that deal a lot of damage, that let you attack a lot of times, focusing entirely on gaining XPs so that you can get to the next level, so you can kill more things faster, more quickly, and deadlier. Role-playing. Role-playing has less to do about, the actual numbers, and more to do about the story. And not just the story that the Dungeon Master has for the entire party, but your story. Your character's story. The story that makes your character go out and, sure, do the rolling, and do the combat, and do the adventure, whatever it is. But the role-playing is your character story, what makes your character interested in the game. And I'm going to address his actual question, how do you get to this, from 2 different sides of the table. First, from the Dungeon Master's side, there's a lot of simplicity in allowing people to just roll. Because then you don't have to come up with a truly ingenious story. You don't have to worry about what their characters are. You just have to show up and have some monsters for them to kill, and some dungeons for them to hack through, and good table to give them XPs when they require them. That's all you need. And while that does sound extremely easy, it's boring. It's really boring. I've played those games before. There's no point behind them. I much prefer to roleplay, and especially as a DM, I love stories. I'm really good at stories. I'm bad at the whole combat thing. I'm working on that. But I really love telling stories, and I really love listening to stories. So at the moment, I'm co-DMing, which is the phrase that I'm using, where, my friend, who is the Dungeon Master, the DM, he's doing all of what I consider the hard work of coming up with all the numbers and coming up with all the monsters and traps and things that try and kill us. And he came up with a general story and a couple of names here and there, but for the most part, a lot of the big, gigantic story chunks and a lot of the little tiny details, which are really important, come from me. And I've got a character who's a little kind of halfway between an NPC and a PC. PC stands for playing character, NPC stands for non-playing character. NPCs, are controlled by the DM, and so I'm kind of half controlled by the DM. All of my story comes from outside what the characters should know. But as a DM, I know that it's very important to have people role play. I gotta remember to hold this up every time I say the words roll. so that you know exactly which one I'm talking about. You know, the trick with getting characters to roleplay, first of all, is to let them know some of the details of what's going on. You know, if you're in a kingdom of dwarves, if your story takes place in a kingdom of dwarves, tell them it takes place in a kingdom of dwarves. Some of them might be dwarves. One of them might decide, I want to be related to the royal family. Unless you have a really good reason to stop them, let them. See if you can't work that into your story. If they want to decide to be something totally random, let them. You know, probably the most important part of role-playing is to have people understand their characters. And not just know who they are. Not just their names and their stats. But know how they're going to think. Know how they're going to act. Know how they talk. This gives so much more depth to the characters. A very good thing to have is to have them write down a backstory, which, you know, is the what's happened to your character before. In fact, once I'm done with this, I'm going to go and I'm going to work on writing a backstory for my second character of the campaign. My first one is going to die next week. Why? Because it's important to the plot. I'll totally tell you guys the whole thing. Maybe even make little puppets, because it's an awesome story. I love it. I'm glad to have been part of it. It's going to be amazing, and I can't wait. But anyway, I'm going to be writing that story, and I think writing that story is an important piece to knowing who your character is. You know, to know that he had this guy who trained him in the swords that he thought of as his father, even though he didn't know who his father was. That's important. That's going to affect how I think of things. To know that he, you know, was a worshiper of a god of good, and then that god of good failed to save people he loved, and so he turned away and went and started doing some crazy stuff that, you know, I'll talk to you guys about if I ever talk to this again. Let me know if you want to hear more about it. So yeah. From the other side of the table, from the players, sometimes, very recently actually, I had a campaign that I was playing. A campaign is, for those of you not D&Ders, or at least not our local D&D jargon-ish, a campaign is the story that the DM's telling. It could be something extremely epic, where, you know, you got a pair of hobbits that leave the Shire and have to go and drop a ring into Mount Doom. Or it could be something smaller, such as there's a dungeon over here, or a cave or something, that a group of adventurers are hired to go clear out. Whatever the main story of storiness that is going on, that's the campaign. Anyway, as a player, I recently had a campaign where my DM wasn't very good at role-playing, and so I had this awesome character who's modeled off of Don Quixote. I was going to roleplay, and I figured that there would probably be an evil person in the party, and I would address them as a prince or princess, and I would idolize them, and if anyone said, dude, she's evil, I would say, like, how dare you besmirch the honor of a lady? Have at thee! And I would, like, draw my sword and shield, and I would, like, charge them, and then get, you know, knocked back, because I'm not very fast. But that's not the point. The point was charging someone when it was stupid to be charging. I had a very fun character to play. Crazy. A lot of my characters are crazy, and that makes them a lot of fun. But, I didn't get to it because there wasn't any role-playing in the game. There wasn't any, talking, really. We just kind of jumped in. We jumped straight into dropping the paper that says, defining words, there it is. We jumped straight into role-playing without any role-playing. I mean, we walked into the room, we sat down, and the guys are like, you guys are connected to the royal family somehow. You're a prince, and you work for the captain of the guards, and you're the spy mistress, and blah, 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 blah. And so all these people who would be really bad, you know, like we had an assassin and a necromancer as the princes to the kingdom. The spy mistress was totally worthless, and I was apparently, like, the captain of the guards or something, but my job wasn't entirely defined, because it wasn't part of my character. It was part of the DM's character. Or the DM's story, and it had nothing to do with me. And if he had, like, talked to me beforehand, before we started, I could have changed the things, and made my character make more sense in regards to his story. But we didn't. We just kind of jumped in, and it was just kind of meh. So now we're doing this thing, and it should be really awesome. But yeah, so role-playing and role-playing, two different things. I think probably the best way to decide, to have your players, or you have your DM change, is to tell them, look, we're doing a lot of this. I want to do a lot of this. And with talking to your players and trying to figure out ways that they can become more of a part of the story, or talking to your DM and trying to get ways for you to be more part of their story, I think the connections between the two is going to be the best way to tell people that, I've got this awesome story in the works. I would like it if everyone could be trained in religion. Doesn't matter to who, just religion. Some people are going to complain, and I'm like, fine. But that's probably my next big campaign. Not a big campaign. It's going to be small. Small little dinky campaign. But I'm going to want people to be trained in religion because I've got story that makes it make sense. But I can't tell them what it is, and so if they don't, well, there's not much I can do. We'll see what happens. And flexibility on the part of the storyteller is probably the biggest asset to role-playing. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that. So, thank you everybody for watching. I know this video is 10 minutes long. I hope it was interesting and entertaining. So, yeah, that's all I have. Ooh, one last thing. I finished a book recently. The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. It was really good. Brandon Sanderson can plot a good twist. All of his books that I've read 3 of his books, which isn't a lot of the books of an author, but all of them have been really good, really enjoyable, and the plot twists have just been mind-blowing. Like, I had no clue it was coming. I mean, you look at it and you're like, wow, in retrospect, it totally makes sense. It's awesome. But when you get to that point, even though your mind's trying to figure out who done it, once you get to that point, you were still like, whoa, because you probably didn't figure it out. And then you get hit by like the 4 other plot twists that you didn't see coming. And so, Brandon Sanderson, awesome. Well of Ascension, really liked it. So, yeah, that's what I got. Thank you for watching. Talk to you later.